Ever wondered how hackers find their way into a network? The answer lies in something called network enumeration. Picture this, a digital explorer charting the unknown terrains of a network, gathering crucial information. That's network enumeration in a nutshell. Now I have a question for you. What do you think are the steps involved in network enumeration? Put on your thinking caps, because we're about to dive deep into the labyrinth of networks. Stay tuned as we unravel the process of network enumeration step by step. In the simplest terms, network enumeration is a method that exposes an environment's security holes, but let's break it down further. Imagine a vast digital landscape filled with countless networks. Each of these networks is a bustling metropolis of information. In this bustling metropolis we have hosts, which are like the buildings. Each host has an IP address acting as its unique identifier, similar to a street address in a city. Now, network enumeration is like a detailed city tour of this digital landscape. It's a process where you gather as much information as possible about a network. The more you know about the network, the better you can understand its structure and identify its weaknesses. So what kind of information are we talking about here? Well, we're gathering details about the hosts, their IP addresses, shared resources, and even user accounts. You can think of these as the critical landmarks in our city tour. In essence, this method allows us to see what's going on under the hood of a network. It's akin to a detective gathering clues at a crime scene. The more clues we gather, the clearer the picture becomes. But why is this important? Well, it's a critical phase in ethical hacking. Just like a detective needs to gather evidence to solve a case, an ethical hacker needs to gather information to understand the network's vulnerabilities and help secure it. To put it another way, network enumeration is like a compass guiding a ship in the vast ocean of cyberspace. Without it, the ship can easily lose its way, leading to disastrous consequences. But remember, like any powerful tool, network enumeration should be used responsibly. It's like a double-edged sword. In the right hands, it can be used to fortify a network's defenses. In the wrong hands, it can be used to exploit a network's vulnerabilities. Now that you have a basic understanding of what network enumeration is, it's time to delve into the steps involved in this process. The process of network enumeration can be broken down into 5 key steps. First, we have scanning. This is the initial stage where you identify the devices connected to the network. Think of it as a reconnaissance mission, where you're figuring out who's who and what's what in the vast cyberspace. The purpose of this step is to gain a comprehensive view of the network and to identify potential targets. It's like a cyber treasure hunt, where the treasure is information. Next up, we have port checking. Now, this is where things start to get a bit technical. You see, each device on a network has multiple points of interaction, or ports, that allow data in and out. Some of these ports might be open, others closed. By checking these ports, you can determine which services are running on a device and potentially uncover weak points that could be exploited. It's like finding the secret entrances to a castle. The third step is network mapping. Once you've identified the devices and their ports, it's time to create a map of the network. This is not a physical map, of course, but a schematic representation of how all the devices are connected. This step is crucial as it gives you a bird's-eye view of the network's architecture, helping you understand how data flows across the network. The fourth step is operating system detection. Each device on a network runs an operating system, like Windows, Linux, or macOS. By identifying the operating system, you can get a better idea of what kind of software and vulnerabilities might be present on a device. It's like determining the blueprint of a building to understand its structural weaknesses. Lastly, we have vulnerability assessment. Now that you know the lay of the land, it's time to test the defenses. This involves probing the network for vulnerabilities, such as outdated software or weak passwords. The goal here is not to cause harm, but to identify potential security risks so they can be addressed. It's like a fire drill, testing the network's resilience to ensure it can withstand actual threats. Of course, these steps are just a broad framework. The specific techniques and tools used can vary widely. But remember, network enumeration is not about breaking into systems or causing damage. It's about understanding the landscape of a network, identifying potential vulnerabilities, and working towards a more secure cyberspace. So whether you're a cybersecurity professional, an enthusiast, or just someone curious about how networks work, understanding these steps can give you a deeper insight into the complex world of cybersecurity. So, you've learned about the intriguing world of network enumeration, but what are the key points to remember? First and foremost, let's revisit our definition. Network enumeration is the process of identifying the devices, users, and resources within a network. It's like a mapmaker charting out the landscape, but in this case, the landscape is a digital one. The process involves several steps, each with its own importance. It starts with identifying the active hosts, followed by mapping out the network's structure. Then it moves on to identifying open ports and services. And finally, it uncovers any potential vulnerabilities. It's a systematic journey, and each step uncovers another layer of the network. But why is this process so crucial, you might wonder? Well, network enumeration is the backbone of ethical hacking. It's the first step in uncovering potential vulnerabilities and strengthening defenses. Without it, ethical hackers would be like sailors navigating without a compass. However, it's also important to remember that this power comes with responsibility. Yes, network enumeration can be a powerful tool in the hands of ethical hackers, helping to identify and rectify vulnerabilities. But in the wrong hands, it can be used maliciously, wreaking havoc and compromising privacy. Remember, network enumeration is a powerful tool in the hands of ethical hackers, but it can also be used maliciously. It's our responsibility to use this knowledge wisely and ethically.